If you're a science student currently in class 12th and you want to know how to get a 95+% in your board examinations, make sure you watch till the end of the video. So hi everyone, it's Raj here back with another video. For all those who don't know me, I'm currently a student admitted at the University of Manchester and I'm hoping to start my college this September. Okay, so before we get into this part 2, I hope that you'll have watched the part 1. If you've not, I'll put it somewhere up here. You should definitely watch the part 1 in which I've shared the general tips and tricks for class 12 board examinations or any board examinations for that matter. But in this video, I'm going to be focusing only on science students. And if you're a CBSE student, you'll find the advice even more helpful. But all the other boards are welcome to watch. But again, in this video, I'll be talking only about science subjects. So before we get started, if you all don't know, I was a science student in CBSE stream and I ended up scoring a 95.2% in my board examinations with physics, chemistry, maths, biology and English as my 5 subjects. So the very first tip that I'll give is the same thing that I gave in the very first part of this video as well, and it is an absolutely important tip, is that you should first of all know your priority, right? I talked about it in this first video. So if you're preparing for your JEE, if your focus is only on the JEE, there's no point in investing a lot of time on your board examinations, if that is the case. But again, if you only want to score well in your board examinations, then this video is for you. So yeah, I'll just share the general tips and tricks that realistically helped me get those 95.2% in my science board examinations. So first of all, let's talk about mathematics. Now, maths is an amazingly beautiful subject. I understand that many people hate math, but if you actually start getting things right, if you're solving questions and you somehow reach the answer, you actually feel very satisfied and you feel tempted to start doing another question. So for studying maths for your board examinations, I'd advise you to first of all complete your NCERT textbook. And one thing that people generally do, it is the most common thing that people do, is that they don't actually care about how a particular thing happened. So when you open your maths NCERT textbook, you'll see that before even the first mathematical equation mentioned in your textbook, there are about 2 to 3 pages of just written down history about that very chapter that you're going to be learning. So in my opinion, if you actually start a chapter by reading those 2 or 3 pages, you're going to be very interested in actually doing the sums, because on these 2 or 3 pages of first 2 or 3 pages of any chapter in your maths textbook, they actually generate that interest in the student. They talk about how this thing actually came to be. So if you open your integration chapter in your textbook, you'll notice that in the very first 2 or 3 pages, they actually talk about how integration came to be and what is the actual use of integration. And then they actually jump into the mathematical concept. So that will really help you feel more interested when you're actually doing those questions. So yeah, for maths, first of all, finish your NCERT textbooks. This is generally the most important thing. All the exercises, all the example questions in your maths NCERT textbooks, I guess there are 2 parts of NCERT. Finish all the questions that are in those textbooks. Generally, as per past paper patterns, CBSE does not usually set very tough questions, and sometimes even the numbers are the same as given exactly in the textbook. But yeah, make sure that you're also doing the miscellaneous questions that are in the end of every chapter. So make sure that each and every question, the examples, exercises and miscellaneous questions from your NCERT textbooks are done. Now, of course, many people also study from the R.D. Sharma, which if you're not studying for JEE, I would advise against, because the R.D. Sharma is a huge book and it has very, very difficult questions as well. Now, people in the flow of studying math can get lost in those questions, and actually they are not the questions that are going to be asked in your board examinations. In the JEE, sure, but in the board examinations, I don't think so. So there's no point in doing extremely difficult questions that will never even appear in your board examinations. So only stick to your NCERT textbooks and past year's examination papers. So past year's examinations paper are very important when you're doing mathematics. Try to solve as many papers as you possibly can and get it corrected from your teacher so that you know where you exactly stand. So yeah, that was all about mathematics. This should help you. Again, maths is not very difficult in your class 12th. It is extremely easy. If you're just doing it regularly, you're going to have no problem getting even 100 marks in maths. Most people, when they're doing maths or solving maths question papers, the 2 or 3 marks that people lose are due to silly mistakes. And your paper presentation in CBSE also matters a lot. So yeah, now let's jump into physics. Physics is supposedly the most difficult subject in your class 12. I agree with that. It can be challenging at some times, but physics is also, in my opinion, the most interesting of the bunch. Physics has got the most history behind it, and there is a reasoning behind every single thing that happens. It will really intrigue you into studying physics a lot. So if you notice any question paper from past year of physics, you'll notice that about 50 to 52% marks are very easy in a physics paper. So let's say around 45-46 marks will be directly questions like derive something, or they'll be directly questions from your textbook that are actually there in the exercises behind every chapter. And the remaining can be tougher, which are the numericals and some challenging questions that come every year. So physics papers are generally a little bit tougher. So sticking only to your NCERT textbook, I believe, is not really very helpful. In my school, they used a book called Modern's ABC, and this was like the holy grail that every one of us used, and it actually helped us improve our grades. Behind every chapter in the ABC, they have questions written. They have very short questions, then they have some larger answers to some questions. They're really helpful. But one book that I did not actually use while studying in high school, but I'm using right now, is called University Physics. University Physics is a fantastic book if you're looking for simple explanation of famously difficult things, of very complicated things. University Physics is going to help you a lot. Of course, University Physics is a book mostly used in the first year curriculum of your BSc course, but it actually contains the same content as it is taught in your 11th and 12th. Of course, it contains some extra things as well, but if you dodge those things and study only what is there in your 11th and 12th, University Physics can be a really, really helpful book. Again, behind every chapter in University Physics, there are tons of questions, and each question are marked by difficulty. So 1 dot means that it is very easy, 2 dots makes it a little difficult, and 3 dots are difficult questions. So if you do all the 1 and 2 dot questions from the University Physics of all chapters, it will magically improve your grades in your physics examination. So yeah, that was it for physics. Now let's jump into biology. For biology, and I can't stress this enough, if you have any reference book, do not use them. For biology, you have only one textbook, and this one textbook contains answer to every possible question that can be asked in your biology board examination. So there's actually no need at all to get a reference book. In fact, getting a reference book will get you a bit confused, because some information from the NCERT could be a little bit different in the reference book, and that will leave you confused and you won't be able to think about it right. So for biology, I have only one advice, and that is to stick to the textbook and read as much as possible. Right? For biology, reading is important. Of course, once you read the chapter, you'll have it fresh in your mind. You will know everything. But of course, you will need to keep reading again and again and again until you get tired, and even after you get tired of the same thing. Because biology is all about retention and how well you can remember those things. So again, for biology, only read your textbook and solve the questions that are in your NCERT itself. Now for chemistry, I'll have the same advice for you. Stick as much as possible only to the NCERT. Again, when CBSE sets the question, they strictly cannot ask you anything that is not there in your NCERT textbook. So don't get worried and try to get a lot of reference books and study from them. It is absolutely not required. Your NCERT books are actually the only thing that you'll need to study for your board examinations when it comes to chemistry and biology. So again, in chemistry, there's the inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry. For inorganic chemistry, again, only retention power comes helpful. You'll just need to remember a lot of things for inorganic chemistry. So again, the same advice as biology, just keep reading a lot of chapters. For organic chemistry, however, your reactions and your equations become very important. So it is really advisable that you try and practice your organic reactions on a regular basis. It does not take a lot of time. There are about 30 name reactions in chemistry. So again, the process of remembering equations is not very difficult. It does not take a lot of time. So just every day before you go to bed for about half an hour. Just look at the name reactions and the organic reactions that are there in your NCERT textbooks only. So for your board examinations, they'll generally ask reactions only from the textbook. So stick only to that. So yeah, and then you have English. If you ask me, I don't think that you need any special preparation for your English examinations. Quite frankly, English is the easiest subject of the bunch. So one tip for English is when you are sitting in a class and when your teacher is giving you a lecture on any lesson that you're currently on, pay attention. When you pay attention during the class and when you take down notes next to your, you have a lot of poems and whatnot in your English textbooks. When the teacher is teaching poems and all, you just write down the notes of the meanings and everything right into your textbook. So when the exams are near, you can just cross-reference with those notes and you're all good to go. Of course, your chapters or your stories or your prose in your book is the easiest. You just need to read it. It's not very difficult language. It's a very easy to understand, straightforward English language. So you just need to read your textbook once. When your exam's near, you can read it every night before you go to bed. I used to do that personally, so it is not a big deal. Getting good marks in English is not a very huge deal. Of course, for the creative writing part of English, you need to keep practicing so that you don't forget the format. So that's it. Just get the correct formats from your teachers. I don't know, for some reason CBSE puts a lot of emphasis on formats, which I don't think is at all helpful for the students. But again, if you want marks, you need to stick to those formats. So yeah, that's it from my end. One more advice is that be serious throughout the year. If you're just going to study during 2 months before your board examinations, quite frankly, you will not get good marks. You will need to work hard throughout the year to be able to achieve a goal, because honestly, the subject matter in a science curriculum of any board is vast. So you have to cover a lot of territories. You have to cover a lot of things in 1 year. So just waiting for the exams to come near and then studying just 1 month or 2 months before the board examinations will not get you in those 95+% bracket. And also, whenever your teacher sets a test or whenever you have practice papers in your school, give those papers as if you are giving a board examination paper and be as serious as you possibly can. So thank you so much everyone. I hope that these tips were really helpful for you, and yeah, I'll be back with another video very shortly.